So this week I have something I didn't really plan on doing anymore on the channel, and that is a laser review video. There's also going to be a build project about halfway through this if you're more interested in how these things work versus their capabilities. So I'm not going to do a big unboxing video. This company had reached out to me previously, and I declined because the stuff I make doesn't really fit in the bed of a laser this size. But they recently upgraded these to have a pass-through feeder, and that was something I couldn't really pass up. This laser also comes with all the bells and whistles because it's enclosed. Venting out all the toxic fumes is really easy. It also comes with an air pump. It also comes with software. It's really it's the best laser I've tested so far, and with all of the added features, it's by far one of the better options. Unfortunately, I hate when the better option usually coincides with a higher price tag, but if you're someone who's in the market for something like this, this is one of the better models. And if you're buying the standalone laser and you're using it in a shop, you're most likely going to have to buy filtration and air pump and all that stuff. So it's nice it comes in one unit. So as you could see, it came out of the box already assembled, which is nice. If assembly is something you're not interested in, this one you really don't have to do a lot to get it working. I did a quick test because the software that comes with this machine has a lot of capabilities, so you don't necessarily have to buy light burn on top of getting the laser. And then what I always do with these laser reviews, because I have I think 11 or 12 other reviews on the channel, I go through and just test my logo. Doing this quick test will show you if your axes are lined up properly, nothing got dinged in shipping, and just basically if the machine is capable of doing the job basically that you want it to do. So then they sent me a Rotary with this, which was easily the easiest Rotary I've used so far. It hooks right up to the side of the machine. In all honesty, a Rotary is not really something I'm interested in using with these sorts of machines, but because they gave it to me, I was going to test it. They are very cool. If you want to put designs and stuff on wine glasses or tumblers, very easy process, especially the way that this company streamlined it. You can see there's two screws that come out. The Rotary has an indexing pin. You could set it right into the side of the laser. It has a cable that plugs right into the back of the laser. We'll also use that laser with the pass-through feeder. My only complaint is I wish that cable was a little bit longer so I could tuck it out of the way. And then it just has a stand for longer pieces on the end so it doesn't flop over. You level it and it's pretty much ready to go. So you could see in their software, I could switch it over to a cylindrical setting. This laser also comes with a camera, which is one of those things that I had on an older laser and I didn't really think it was going to be extremely useful, but I use these cameras on these all the time. It's a huge time saver. In their software, all you have to do is type in the perimeter of the object you're using. You can see I'm using the camera to line up where I want this to go, and it's already cutting it. This is actually, I think, a little bit of an easier process than even in the Lightburn software, because you have to go and change a couple other things in that one. So it's really streamlined in here. You can see my image, and I sometimes have this problem, I cut it the wrong way, which is why it has that background. I changed a few settings, and then this is basically what it looks like. What I do, especially when I'm testing out these newer lasers, is I write down all of my settings so that going forward, I know what I'm using. I know that might sound like it's not that big of a deal, but you'd be surprised when you're cutting 20 things and you want to go back and remember how to cut 1/4 inch ply, you already have those settings. So then switching back is also really easy. You could see you could put that bed back in place and then go forward. So I had this ideal for design in my head for a little bit of time, so I haven't done a lot of laser work in the shop, so I decided to just make it real quick. I made this in their program. I imported the image of a dachshund, used the typeface that they had in the program, made it real quick. Like I said, I'm writing down all of my measurements. This program also has a lot of images that you can import and get started with. It also has a lot of files that you can buy, which is nice because I buy a lot of files already off of Etsy. So if they're in the program, it makes life a little bit easier. So you can see on the top, you can click through and buy some stuff if you want to use pre-made designs. Later in the video, you'll see you can also create your own designs. To be perfectly honest, I wasn't planning on using this software very much because I've gotten used to using Lightburn, but I was really pleasantly surprised with the capabilities of this. I've used, I think it was the X tool also came with software, and it was a little clumsy. There wasn't, it definitely couldn't compete with Lightburn. Lightburn's obviously going to have the most bells and whistles, but this one, especially if you're not planning on doing a lot of stuff super intricate, is extremely capable. So then, like I said, the whole reason I decided to do this review is because of this pass-through feeder. So that comes with the feeder and then these rollers. When I made the table, I put this on. I was, like I said, not planning on doing any other laser reviews, not planning on getting busier lasers. So it's not really sized for it, but I was able to make it work for this video. Same process, you take out the bed that they give you, and there's a bed that comes with the pass-through feeder. I keep all of this set up the way it is, and the other nice thing they gave me was this pull-through vent. So I'd already had an exhaust going out of my shop from my other lasers, but because this is contained, all that gray hosing came with the laser, and I just send it all out to a dryer vent that goes on the outside of the shop. Because this laser is contained in a box, and it already comes with a vent blowing it out, it was really easy to keep all the smoke out of my shop. That was probably the thing I was one of the happiest to upgrade. The system I had before came with one of my other lasers. It worked okay, but because it was an open air laser, you're inevitably going to get smells and smoke in the shop. It's really nice not to have to deal with that by venting this outside. And then what I wanted to do was just try testing some patterns on some cordboard, sending it through. I didn't want to do final cuts on stuff without testing this. Kind of quickly realized that the rollers were a little too hard for the cordboard. It was kind of crushing it, but I was able to kind of eke out a design and finish this up. So you can see basically those rollers are going to set the tension. It's going to push the material in and out of the laser, and the laser is just going to cut regularly. And you can see this will help you create bigger projects, longer projects. Also, there's a lot of stuff that I've wanted to cut out or engrave, and the bed of the laser is just not big enough. So this really kind of, they give you, you can make this fairly long. You can make it almost 3 times as long as what I have set up in the shop. So then before I proceeded, like I said, I used the camera a lot. I just wanted to see if the calibration was accurate. The way to do that is drew a square, I cut it, and then I reset the camera settings. You could see it was a little off, so they have a calibration option in the settings. I did the same test, and now you can see the camera is almost dead on. If you watch my other video where I calibrated a camera, it took almost all afternoon to get it right. So the fact that you could just plug that in, do a calibration that's perfect, was also really nice. And you can see you're going to have a lot of scrap ply, so it's really nice to be able to have a camera and easily align where stuff is going to go. Now, I've had this laser in the shop for probably well over 2 months, and I've been using it that long. And I like to do, whenever I take on one of these projects, I like to make sure I have plenty of time to test them, just in case stuff starts to pop up. So you can see I fine-tuned the settings to redo my laser. And then while I was doing this, making footage for this laser project, I was doing a mailbox. It was really nice to be able to very quickly make some test cuts to show a customer what something will look like before I can make the final cuts. So then for the main build project of this, I had this idea to take a painting, one that was not necessarily pointillism, but it had a lot of gesture in it, which the Starry Night painting does. And I wanted to remove some of that gestural painting to allow light to come through it. If you watch the channel, you know I play around with wood and light quite a bit. And I also was thinking of adding dimension to it. So what I did was I went through and I cut it up, that painting, into what I thought were reasonable sections. So kind of broke up the design. And I did a test cut of what that was going to look like. And then I was going to send the whole thing through. Real quickly, how I was able to do that using the software and not necessarily being good at Illustrator, I just scanned those cut images that I made into my computer. I took it into Photoshop. I deleted the background with Magic Wand, and then I just took the eraser and erased kind of the pattern I wanted. I wanted the pattern to follow the brush strokes as much as possible. I basically did that for every one of those pieces. I could import those files, which are now PNGs, which the program reads really well, into the computer. With their sketch option, I already figured out that I moved the noise reduction all the way up and the threshold all the way down, gave me a perfect outline. You can delete the original, and then this now can be an easy cut file. The computer can read it really well. If you don't know a lot about these programs, JPEGs and certain files, SVG files and PNGs are really going to be what these computers can read well. The nice thing about this program is I could outline the whole thing and ungroup it. You can see at the top I hit split, and you can move around all the parts of it. I deleted the outline, clicked on the whole thing, and I could group it back together, and now it's one object again. So just another example of stuff that you can do in the software that's really nice. So I did that to every single image. I color coded them so it was a little bit easier to see, and this is the image I came up with. You can see it fits on the laser bed now, so what's nice about it is I could highlight the whole thing and scale it up at once. It wasn't perfectly outlined because turning them is not as fine-tuned of an adjustment as I would need to get it, but I kind of got it relatively where I wanted it. I knew it probably wasn't going to come out as a perfect finished product the first time, regardless. So this unfortunately is kind of a test at this point. And then I could take each piece and transfer it onto my laser bed and cut them out. So now they're large scale. I think the biggest piece was like over 20 inches long, and that is where the feeder comes into place. The problem with the feeder was there was a little bit of a learning curve. If I was cutting right through the material, the little pieces would sometimes flick up out of the wood and they get stuck in the feeder. And as soon as the feeder gets out of alignment, all of your projects will become out of alignment. Now, if you've used lasers before, which I have, this is not an uncommon problem with lasers. There's a learning curve with all lasers, and one of the biggest problems I've had testing all the lasers are really the pieces that pop out will get stuck in the laser even without the pass-through feeder, and also the laser will get stuck on things. They can be a little problematic. Fortunately, because this has the camera, what I was able to do was whenever this first test run got messed up, I could pause it. I deleted the parts that it already cut, so I didn't have to repeat the entire process. With the camera, I could go through and delete parts of my drawing, so it went from being a 20-minute job towards the end of only being a couple cuts, and that was how I was able to save it. You can see it's not perfect, but that was how I was able to get that first one done. So then after that, what I decided I had to do was just not cut completely through the material, so the blanks wouldn't fall out the bottom and get stuck, or fall out the top and get stuck. I also double-sided taped a backer to this. So the concept was it would cut through the wood but wouldn't go through the backer, so nothing can fall down. I had this white plastic in the shop. I used that. It worked really well. This cut seamlessly. Nothing got stuck, but because it's plastic, the machine heated up the plastic and it warped. So I wasn't going to be able to reuse this again. But you could see it was a really nice cut. So at this point I had two pieces that were kind of working for me. Also, you can only cut about 1/16 of an inch material in here, and because there's no backside rollers, I very quickly found out that as this material heats up, it wants to kind of pull up, and it was hitting the back of the machine, also causing an error. So the way I fixed this real quick was I just shimmed it up by about 1/16 of an inch in the back. It didn't really seem to affect the laser cutting capabilities, and then nothing really got stuck on the back. I was still using the backer for this. The material I went with was I had this laminate left over from another job. That worked really well. I still had the issue where I didn't want to cut all the way through. Once again, common issue with these lasers. They're not super consistent with organic material, so they'll cut through in certain spots and not others. And just to get this project kind of started, what I did was I made it so it didn't cut through all the way, so I didn't have to worry about it messing up. Then I took a belt sander and just removed about a 32nd of an inch of the material in the back, and I was able to then pop all the pieces out. I've had to do that on other projects as well. To save time for the smaller parts, I cut them like the regular laser. I will say this laser, with the testing I've done so far, is the nicest laser as far as parts not getting messed up. I have no hold downs or clamps or anything on the inside of this laser, and I've had no problems with it cutting whatsoever. It's also capable with light burn. I think I went through it pretty quickly earlier in the video, but I cut my logo in light burn using this laser. The problem with light burn, and which is why I'm still using their software not only to test it, is that their camera and the auto feeder is not compatible with light burn. So you can make files and import them as G code, but I just thought it was easier to use their program. So keep that in mind if you want to buy something like this. As of when I was testing it, their camera, which is I think one of the nicer features, will not work in light burn. I saw people hook up other cameras, and the auto feeder will also not work with light burn. By the end, I had this cutting seamlessly. I had at least 5 or 6 passes through without a problem. I was still using that backer. It was working really well. And then basically I just wanted to put this on a really quick light box I made to kind of see what it looked like. I don't dislike this, but it's definitely something I'm probably going to put on the shelf for a while, think about how I would modify and change it before going back to it. But I do like the way it turned out. I don't know if I want to deal with messing with the depths of it. To be perfectly honest, I really like doing stuff like this, but I don't have a lot of free time to do it. So now that I've got it done for the project, like I said, probably going to think on it for a little bit and maybe come back to it down the line, but there's honestly a good chance I won't have time to tweak this and mess with it and try and get it to where I want it. But like I said, really nice laser, really nice capabilities. If you have the cash and you're in the market for one, it's definitely one of the better ones I've tested.